When there's a snitch witness in your criminal case, the temptation is to just beat them up. They're scoundrels, they're liars, they have criminal records, they're not to be trusted. And you just want to beat up on them so bad. And what I've learned in the course of my studies, especially when I was at the Trial Lawyer College, and since then I've been involved with training with the Trial Lawyer College, been to a lot of seminars. One of the things you learn is it's not really a bad idea at all to learn to respect and be empathetic to and express love and compassion for people, even if they're adverse to your case. A snitch witness typically involves somebody who is going to give testimony against your client. And the prosecution will be very careful to couch their testimony in terms of if there is a deal or a promise of consideration. There's the idea that the snitch witness wants to look good in the eyes of the prosecutor, and they make a deal with the prosecutor that if they testify truthfully, and I'm going to use the Chris Farley quotes here, if they testify truthfully, they might get some special consideration, or they have a deal for consideration if they tell the truth. And the only problem with that is that more often than not, the snitch witness is somebody that overheard something in jail that wasn't an eyewitness to the alleged crime. They weren't an eyewitness to what your client did or didn't do. And neither was the prosecutor, and neither were you, and it's okay to admit to the jury, I wasn't there, but neither was the prosecutor. And in most cases, neither were the police officers that came in after the fact and wrote police reports. Sometimes they put things in quotes, sometimes they did put things in quote, and all the time, their reports are not perfect. They are always imperfect. It's hard to get them to admit it, but the jury already knows that, so don't harp on that. But you have a snitch witness who's in jail, or they wouldn't have met your client in jail to snitch on them, and they know what it's like in jail. And more often than not, they have loved ones. More often than not, they have kids. But what's it like in the jail? Ask them just honest questions. They sleep with their head about 18 inches away from a toilet bowl. And they don't share a cell with one or two other people anymore. It's usually 4 or 5 or 6 people in a cell. And why do you sleep with your head next to the toilet? Well, because if you don't do that, you sleep with your head down by the jail door or the cell door. And it's a very dangerous place to be. And until you've been there, or you've asked your clients or you've asked other inmates what it's like, why do you sleep with your head by the toilet and not by the door? Wouldn't the air be fresher down there? Well, it's dangerous. If somebody's able to pop your lock, or if the door's not locked properly, somebody wants to come in and do you harm, you're a lot more vulnerable with your head by the door. Ask them those questions. Ask what it's like. You would do anything for your children, wouldn't you? And you've been asked to tell the truth, but I don't get to judge whether or not you tell the truth. My client doesn't get to judge whether or not you told the truth. Other people that might have been there don't get to judge whether or not you told the truth. Somebody that wasn't there, that doesn't have personal knowledge of the facts, gets to judge whether or not you're telling the truth. And you can be respectful and kind to that snitch witness because they're in a predicament. And they may not admit it, and they may be emphatic, but the jury's going to recognize that they're in a predicament. They have to tell the truth as the DA, as the prosecutor expects them to tell it, even though the prosecutor does not have any personal knowledge whatsoever about what did and did not happen. Keep that in mind when you have a snitch witness. Be kind, be empathetic, be compassionate to that witness, and get them to admit that they have a dilemma, or at least paint a picture to the jury, even if ultimately in the end, after they admit what it's like and that they have kids and loved ones and they do anything for their children, and they're not testifying truthfully. They're testifying in a way that the prosecutor will deem that it's truthful when the prosecutor is not in a position to state that it was the truth. In fact, it's illegal for them to convey to the jury their opinion of whether or not your client's guilty. And so this process they use kind of belies that rule, and it's inconsistent with that rule. But don't get mean and beat up on these snitch witnesses. They're in a bad predicament. They're between a rock and a hard place, and if you'll just demonstrate that to a jury, I'm pretty sure you'll have more success than if you try to beat them up. Thank you, and I hope this video has been helpful to you. Effective, honest, and passionate trial presentation can mean the difference between a multi-million-dollar verdict and a defense verdict. We all know that your client deserves complete justice, not that diluted version that we're always so often used to seeing in a courtroom. Don't go at this alone. When the stakes are high, you need an ally. I'm retired Judge Kenneth Adair, and I've helped many lawyers win good judgments for their clients at trial. Go to Trial.Win to learn more about my first chair, mock trial, and pretrial sociometrics services to help you win your next case.